Joining us for perspective now on this is Dr. Shalini Chawla. She's an expert on Pakistan affairs and distinguished fellow with CAPS, or Center for Air Power Studies. Such a pleasure to have you, Dr. Shalini, with us. Would you say that systems in Pakistan are under such a tight stranglehold of Islamist fundamentalists that women, especially from minority communities, are objectified and abused in the most heinous ways imaginable?
There is the problem about regarding suppression of minorities is not new in Pakistan. In fact, there is a whole culture of suppression. So you have to dive deeper into the whole issue rather than just going the statement has been made, but this is not something new. We had the UN Human Rights Committee report came out in October. In last year, there was a report which came out from UN, and in January last year, in fact, there was a press release where UN had actually urged action to Pakistan, saying that they need to take action against, taking care of the fact that there are these suppression taking care against the minority and forced marriages, etc. So there is a whole chain chain that you see of suppression in that country. So where are even the majority, where you have the Muslim population also is under deep suppression of the military, and then you have the suppression of the minorities there, which is a cultural issue there. And I won't go into the details, but it is not only the Islamist party's issue. It is the issue of the way the country has been governed, the way the country has been dealt with. The voices of the minorities have not been given the right place, and that's why the division of the countries happen. And it is, if you see, even now, it is not only about the religious minorities. See how the Baluchis are, treated there. How the other areas, you have seen, there have been also reports about the suppression of the Baluch there, enforced disappearances there. So that is the way. I mean, that you have seen from the beginning, we this whole thread of intolerance in the society. And if I would deep dive and say one sentence, the creation of the state on the basis of two-nation theory kind of becomes the bottom line for that intolerance. So the bottom line there in Pakistan is that intolerance is very deep in the society. So lack of tolerance of any other, and that's the basis of the creation of that state, right? And that is something which is not gone. And in fact, the instability within the country has now intensified those factions of intolerance. Those whole threads of intolerance have intensified because of the continued instability that you see in the country. So now, obviously, Pakistan can rake up these issues of Kashmir at the international forum because it suits their whole agenda, the strategic calculus. It suits them because it kind of allows them to get back their strategic relevance in some form. But the fact is that the country needs to look within and address these issues which have been grossly talked about, and even the Pakistanis are talking about it, and it's all over local reports. It's not only India is saying on the basis of the UN reports and whatever is coming out in the Pakistani local newspapers. So the issue has been there, and I don't see this settling down soon, because the instability, the polarization in the country, the extremism which is seeping in the country, I don't see that settling down very soon, because how the country is, the hybrid regime is there, people's voices they don't form part of the regime there. So the instability won't settle down, and this factor is not going to settle down very soon there.
You're saying there are cultural murings, and intolerance has been the basis of the creation of Pakistan under the two-nation theory, and instability is worsening the situation perhaps. But also, Dr. Shalini, courts in Pakistan validate forced marriages and religious conversions of girls from minority communities instead of questioning them. Why do you think there's no call for action from the judiciary in Pakistan? Is it again how things are structured, or do they simply go by the laws? Because even if laws are inadequate, for instance, in a democracy like India, there are courts that at times call for action, but we don't see that in Pakistan.
you don't see the that's a fantastic question, but you don't see that institutional empowerment there to be able to bring that kind of change in Pakistan. You saw judiciary asserting itself tremendously in the last, say, a year or so, and you saw the 26th Amendment bill. You also saw how the structural changes have been now initiated in Pakistan to bring back those powers of the judiciary. So there is a limit what the role that institutions can play there to be able to bring this long-term change which we are talking about in Pakistan. And obviously there is empowerment of these Islamist groups which have been traditionally used by the military and the political groups for their own strategic advantages. And there are multiple intertwined factors, I would see, which are there in Pakistan, which have led to this. And somewhere it kind of takes pride in establishing its identity on the basis of this. Some of the factions, I won't say the whole of country, but as far as your question goes in terms of institutions bringing in change, I think there is a limit where institutions can play. We have not seen any positive change being being brought into the country through the institution. We know the issues in the country. We know how powerful the power lobbies are, the military and the Islamist forces also there. So I don't think they have that much of the power in terms of bring in that change. There are limitations to that, I would say.
So, Dr. Chandni, experts say that child early and forced marriage cannot be justified on religious grounds or cultural grounds, and under international law, consent is irrelevant when the victim is a child under the age of 18. With Pakistani authorities turning a blind eye or at best ineffective, is there really no hope in sight?
I mean, as I said, these issues are extremely deep, and long-term changes are required to do that. And I won't comment on the religious side of that. I mean, I don't have the authority to do that there. But as far as the changes are required, I don't see those changes in Pakistan. In fact, the recent bill which has come up, the 26th Amendment bill, which has actually target now brought in a big change in terms of cutting down the powers of the judiciary. It doesn't give you so much hope in terms of the fact that the country can actually advance and change too much, to my mind. At least not right now. I can't say anything about the future. And even if you see the recent elections, how they were won, the most popular leader still remains behind the bar. So I don't see too many changes with this kind of the power dynamics that we have right now. Will the power dynamics change in Pakistan? Even for that, currently, I don't see the hope in terms. I think the power dynamics, the more unstable the country is, the power dynamics which are there will be strengthened. I don't see that changing. So till you have the real people's power reflecting in policy making, these changes don't come. And unfortunately, in Pakistan, that doesn't happen. We are seeing this hybrid regime for quite some time now, and we will see the continuation of that in the coming years, is my feeling.
So no hope for minorities, including girls from the minority communities in Pakistan?
I hope I'm wrong, and I hope there is hope. There are also positive steps. There are some reports which are suggesting that the work is being done. But if I, sitting here in India, on a broad level, if I see in terms of what is happening and what we saw in the elections, the kind of amendment bill that we see, the kind of polarization that we see, the kind of effort that we are seeing in terms of, effort which are bringing down the powers of the institutions and only giving supremacy to the military, where will the hope come from? The hope can only come when you have the true democracy, when you have the people's will reflecting there. So how will the hope really, I don't see those traces of hope there.
Absolutely. Also, any sort of socio-economic reforms have a long gestational period. So if you don't show the political will now, how can one think of a future which is brighter, maybe 20 years or 30 years down the line. Well, we'll leave it at that, Dr. Shalini. Thank you so much for joining us with your views.
Thank you so much. Thank you.